Let's bring John Clayton, 710 ESPN, of course, longtime host with the 710 ESPN in Seattle. You've seen him across ESPN platforms, and he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. And, last time we talked to you, John, Happy New Year, by the way. We had the Eagles' offense was horrible in that game, 17-9, 5 weeks ago. So how different is this Seahawks team 5 weeks later?
Well, it's weaker on defense without any question, although they get Quandre Diggs back, which, of course, without him, they really struggle because, he's a really good free safety, and how Detroit gives him up for a fifth-round pick is absolutely ridiculous. He's a Pro Bowl alternate, and so now they have two Pro Bowl alternate type of safeties in Bradley McDougald and Diggs, so that's encouraging. But what they don't have is the play of Jadeveon Clowney, because he's clearly not the same after coming to Philadelphia and having, what's eventually going to be some kind of a core surgery. So he's been struggling. So once again, pass rush has not been there, given up too many chunk plays, too many big plays, all those different things. And then their offense has had some problems, particularly losing three running backs. So really it's not as good of a team as the team that you saw in Philadelphia, particularly when you get to the point where you have to then start a rookie in Travis Homer, who really did not have a carry until week 15, and then their top three running backs are on IR, and they had to get Marshawn Lynch out of retirement. Same thing with Robert Turbin.
Yeah, Turbin, I guess, along with Marshawn Lynch, the running game's going to look a lot different than the last time. Penny had a really big game here in Philly. But were you surprised at how Philly's defense was able to kind of contain Russell Wilson and that offense the last time they were here?
Not really, because they had Tyler Lockett wasn't the same because he had the flu, and remember the team had the flu that was so bad. I mean, they had at least 4 or 5 players that had lost about 10 pounds, and so I guess it was lighter on the cargo on the plane getting them to Philadelphia. But now they're starting to get back. Lockett hasn't been the same since he suffered bad. But he's getting close to back to the full form. And Russell Wilson hasn't been as effective because the pass blocking has not been good at all since that Philly game. But it's still a team that knows how to win on the road. It's now as a bend but don't break type of defense, and still is a dangerous team. And they came pretty close with that comeback to beating San Francisco on Sunday, were it not for a bad call in the end zone. Dumb call by the coaching staff, not getting the play in quick enough, and they had to take the delay of game, taking the ball to the 6-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, we were all fascinated to see if Pete Carroll was actually going to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the 2 there. Yeah. That would have been, everybody's on edge for that, John.
Well, I think what ended up happening is that they were trying to make a call to Ricardo Lockett, who was the receiver who went against Brandon Browner in the Super Bowl that got the ball away from Marshawn Lynch. Right. But I guess they couldn't connect in 25 seconds, and so they had to take the penalty.
Tell us about the left tackle situation. Is Dwayne Brown definitely not going to play? Is he testing it? What's his status?
No, he won't be able to play. He just had surgery less than 2 weeks ago, and it's going to be a surgery that he should be able to recover from if they advance next week, if it be in San Francisco or whatever. But no, he's going to miss this game. So George Fant, who actually was a rookie, having never played in the offensive line, actually started 8 games as a rookie and didn't do too bad at left tackle. So he'll be the one starting, and then they'll take Jamarco Jones and then use him as the blocking tight end.
How do you go, John, from being a team that, if you would have said Seattle was playing Philadelphia weeks ago, that Philadelphia would not really have a chance. Now the Eagles seem like they're expected to win this game, at least around here. So out there, what is the expectation for this banged-up Seattle team? Because they're really similar to the Eagles as far as what they've had to go through injury-wise.
Yeah, but I still contend that the Eagles have more injuries than the Seahawks, although both teams are the worst as far as going in for health of all the teams in the playoffs. Because look what happened at the end of the game for the Eagles. What of the 11 starters on offense that started the season, there was only 4 left. Now again, a couple are coming back. Lane Johnson, I would imagine, should be back on the field. You would hope, but the injuries were so severe, so it's still a little bit more. And then of course now what's creeping up for the Eagles, they're getting injuries again at the cornerback position, and that's not good. But Seattle's lost a lot, the Eagles have lost a lot, but hey, the Seahawks still somehow, some way won 11 games, still still trying to figure out how they've been able to do it, but they're still pretty formidable.
Yeah, and I know the Eagles, with Lane Johnson potentially coming back, that gives them a shot there. But Miles Sanders, he's, it looks like he might play, but he might not be 100%. Losing Zach Ertz, though, how big of a factor, John, is that in this particular game? And what's the deal with Michael Kendrick? He's out too, right?
Yeah, Michael Kendrick blew out his ACL,
right? He's out too.
Yeah.
So there's another.
He's done till next summer. I think the Ertz one is the biggest one of all because you saw the struggles at wide receiver. Now I know it's gotten better in the last couple of weeks, and I know that the Doug Peterson has more rollouts and things like that are working with Carson Wentz. But Ertz was pretty much it in the game.
Yeah.
Because again there was so little at wide receiver. What was it? The two starting wide receivers combined for a total of 3 catches because one just came off the practice squad. Whiteside only had like 3 catches, and I think I was going off my memory. I think it was only like 33 catches on the active roster at wide receiver. That's pretty brutal. And unfortunately, things haven't gotten that much better. Since then, Alshon Jeffrey goes on injured reserve. Nelson Aguilar still battling his knee injury and all those things. So, it's still going to be a struggle there. And so I would imagine I think there'll be more scoring than the 26 points we saw in the first game, but I don't know how much more.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see, John, what Russell Wilson we get here. He was excellent this year, was in the MVP conversation for a long time, but the Eagles really bottled him up. And do you think play action is a big factor in the game for the Seahawks with that lack of running game? Can they utilize the play action? Because that's usually, when he's at his best.
Yeah, no question. Not as much as they did when they had healthy running backs. So that's going to be limited, but they still have to try. Travis Homer's not a bad running back. I think you could see there's a decent future there. Is he equal to the 3 guys that they had before? Well, maybe he's equal to C.J. Prosise, but he's not the equal of Penny or Chris Carson, but he's still pretty good. And what you're going to probably see is that they're going to use more quick passing. That's what they've done the last couple of weeks. Homer's pretty good catching passes out of the backfield. They get the ball to Jacob Hollister. He's been pretty good. But overall, it's like it's all up to Russell Wilson. And the key for him in the team is making sure they don't have him fall behind. When you're down by double digits, it's hard to be able to come back. They saw that last week against San Francisco, even though they were on the 1-yard line, one inch away from winning the game.
What did you think, by the way, of Marshawn Lynch? Playing his first game in such a long time. It looked like he had some of his vintage Marshawn Lynch moves, but how much can he realistically play in his second game back?
I was just stunned he got 12 carries.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be more in that 8 or 9. So the fact that he had 12 carries and he looked pretty quick on the one where he gained 14 yards. So he still has some quickness, and he may not have the power that he has because remember, all he did was, for about 8 days trained with a martial arts expert down in Oakland, and all the martial arts guy just kept hitting him. So he was used to the body hits that he was going to suffer in a game. But there's a little something there. But again, the speed isn't as good. He does have some burst, and if he's near the goal line, he had a pretty good jump on the one. He did more than I think anybody expected. But how much more he can do? Not much more.
John Clayton, 710 ESPN. Jadeveon Clowney, he did not play the last time. They didn't need him. The Eagles were that inept. Having him potentially in this game, how does that change everything for the Seahawk defense?
Not much because because he came back and went to the doctor in Philly and he's awaiting surgery, and so I don't know if it's exactly a core surgery, which would be the sports hernia, or if it's something also in his hip. Mm-hmm. But he's just not the same because he doesn't have as much of a burst. He has given him so much credit and has done a great job of just fighting through just to be there because any other player pretty much would have just had the surgery. He didn't. He wants to try to do as much as he can, and he opened the game with 2 pretty good rushes. But right now he doesn't have everything is a painful thing for him right now. But he's trying to do the best he can. But they're going to have all the other guys try to do a little bit more.
All right, it's 4:40 right here Eastern time. I know John out there in the Pacific, and you look at this game 4:40 Eastern with Merrill and Mike on the call right here on 97.3 ESPN. It's Eagles Seahawks. Second round, part 2, right here on 97.3 ESPN. John, thank you, pal.
It'll be a good one.